everybody, welcome back to your third lesson on your topic of mountains, and today we're going to be looking at how mountains are formed. By the end of the lesson, you're going to be able to describe how different types of mountains are formed. Now, before we look into the different types of mountains, we need to think about what the Earth is made up of. Now, the Earth is broken up into huge areas called tectonic plates, and these float on top of the mantle. So the tectonic plates are the Earth's crust, as it's not one solid layer. This map here shows where the tectonic plates are, so you can see the different tectonic plates. So you've got the Eurasian plate, the North American plate, the South American plate, the African plate, the Australian plate, the Antarctic plate. We've got the Pacific plate, and we've also got some small plates like the Philippine plate, Indian plate, the Australian plate, Arabian plate, and so on. So we're thinking about tectonic plates, we've got to think about how they move. So they either rub together, they move towards each other, or away from each other. So you can just see in the camera in the side. So if you take two pieces of paper, you can do this at home if you like. Take two pieces of paper, you can see that either the tectonic plates can rub against each other, which causes friction. They move towards each other. When they move towards each other, they can either go on top of each other or below, or they might come up and form a peak, or they can move away from each other, which creates a gap. So there's different ways in which the tectonic plates can move, and this affects what actually these tectonic plates create. So we're going to come back a little bit to that in a second when we talk about how these different mountains are formed. But it's important to know that there are 5 main types of mountains, and each one is actually formed completely differently. So we have fold mountains, plateau mountains, dome mountains, volcanic mountains, and fault block mountains. So in this lesson, we're going to be looking at each of these types of mountains and how they are formed. So let's start with fold mountains. So fold mountains actually occur when tectonic plates collide. So the edges of the plates crumble as they are pushed together. So as you can see for fold mountains, the tectonic plates actually move towards each other and then they move up. And this creates fold mountains, so it creates the peak. So the edges of the plates crumble as they're pushed together, and the rock of the Earth's surface is pushed to create the mountain. So the tectonic plates come together, and they push together, and they form the mountains. So an example of a fold mountain is actually the Alps, and you can see the Alps here. So you can see this is where the tectonic plates actually meet, and they've pushed together and formed mountains. We've also got fault block mountains. So fault block mountains are when there's cracks in the surface, in the Earth's surfaces open up, which means large chunks of rock can be pushed up while others are pushed down. So you can see here on this diagram that this is the Earth's surface, and as cracks are formed, some chunks of rocks are pushed upwards, and some chunks of rocks are actually pushed downwards. So this actually creates mountains with a long slope on one side and a sharp drop on the other. So you can see there's sort of a long slope and then there might be a sharp drop. So you can see here where some of the areas have dropped, yet some of the rocks have been pushed upwards. So an example of some fault block mountains then are the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. This is in America. So these are some fault block mountains here. Okay, we also have volcanic mountains. Now, volcanic mountains are actually formed around volcanoes, and volcanoes are made of layers of ash and cooled lava. So Mount Vesuvius in Italy is actually a volcanic mountain here, and you can see it. So even though it's a volcano, it's still a volcanic mountain. We also have dome mountains. Now, dome mountains are smooth and round looking, and they're actually formed when magma is forced up between the crust and the mantle, but it doesn't actually ever flow out. So the magma actually makes the land bubble up like a balloon. So you can see here the magma is coming up and it's being forced between the crust and the mantle, and it's causing a bubble effect. So it's actually making the Earth bubble up like a balloon. So you can see here, so there would be magma underneath here that has come up through to the Earth's crust, and it's not got anywhere to come out, so it's not flowing out, but instead it's just creating like a bubble, like a balloon in the crust. So this is actually another example of a dome mountain. This is called Devil's Tower, and it's in America. Okay, and our final type of mountain is a plateau mountain. Now, plateau mountains are completely different from the other types of mountains. They're formed in a different way. They haven't formed because of rock or magma being pushed up. They're actually formed because of materials that have been taken away through erosion. This leaves deep valleys or gorges, which is next to high cliffs. So you can see in this diagram here, you can see in these lower areas here, material has actually been taken away through erosion. So it's been moved away and it's creating valleys and gorges next to these high cliffs. So you can see here the low points are where there's been erosion and it's left mountains and sort of cliffs. So this is an example of a plateau mountain here, which is the Allegheny Mountains in America again. So you can see the high bits are the sort of the cliffs, and the low bits are eroded parts of the crust that have come away to create sort of slopes, which gives us the mountain shape. So then your worksheet is just going to be looking at these different types of mountains, and you're going to be matching up how they are formed to the mountain names. So let me show you your worksheet. So for this worksheet here, what you've got to do is you've got to match the mountain types how they are formed. So you're given the mountain types here, you've got fold mountains, plateau mountains, dome mountains, volcanic mountains, and fault block mountains. What you need to do is read the how they are formed here and match the number up. So for example, we've got these types of mountains are formed around volcanoes. They are made of layers of ash and cooled lava. Now that's number 3. I know that mountains that are formed around volcanoes are called volcanic mountains. So where it says volcanic mountains, in the next box, I will put a number 3 to match their description together. So you need to make sure you're doing that for each of the different types of mountains and the different formations of how the mountains are formed. Please, so your assignment is going to be posted as Teams as normal. So please make sure that you're doing your assignment and you're submitting it by the end of today. And I look forward to reading your assignments. As a quick tip, go back on if you're struggling with any of the descriptions of how the mountains are formed. Just come back onto this YouTube video, go back across the different types of mountains, and pause the video so you can read the type of mountain that'll help you answer the it'll help you do the matching activity for your worksheet. Okay, thank you everybody. I will see you tomorrow for your 4th mountains lesson. Thank you.